Good evening and welcome. It is November 20. It is 6:15 p.m. across Cameroon. It is time for the news on Canal International. We're coming to you live from Douala. First, the headlines with Kejan Henry Atembe.
6 suspects involved in the murder of a French national in Douala have been apprehended following a raid by a combined network of security operatives in the Makia neighborhood. The crime scene reconstruction was supervised by the state attorney and the judicial police department, with the suspects reenacting the crime in a mock operation. In another development, 15 individuals were arrested in Mimboman and Kwabang neighborhoods of Yaoundé by the anti-crime unit of the National Gendarmerie. Popularly known as Le Microbe, the gang specializes in snatching handbags containing valuables, burglary, and the consumption of hard drugs. Meanwhile, the government has intensified its crackdown on delinquent public servants by dismissing 1,172 employees for unjustified absences. This brings the total number of dismissed workers, those earning salaries from taxpayers without fulfilling their duties, to over 3,000. The 6:15 news is rolling straight away in a split second with anchorman Tarike Divine Ramsey Jr.
Once again for your company, and we start out from Bamenda in the northwest region, where for the past several days the social climate appeared to be calm. But earlier on today, the perceived tranquility was shattered when suspected separatists set fire to 2 township taxis. Here's Sherif Asale and Annie Collins.
Whereas the social climate in Bamenda seems to be calm, suspected separatist fighters have this Wednesday, November 20, set 2 township taxis on fire. The incident occurred at about midday at the Brasseries Junction, Church Street in Bamenda 2 subdivision, about 400 meters from where the first taxi was burnt some months ago.
So other motor were down, you start catch fire, they don't lost them. Yes. Now so you show them pack over then they run.
Reports say the attackers fired heavy gunshots to dissuade any form of intervention before emptying the vehicles of their passengers to ignite the flames. It was only after their departure that some volunteers struggled in vain to put out the fire, beginning with pulling away this green car that would have been the next victim. For some months now, separatist fighters in the northwest region have been waging a campaign against commercial vehicles painting yellow as part of their already 8-year-old struggle to create a breakaway state from mainland Cameroon. So far, over 10 yellow cars have been burnt since they became targets in Bamenda. Relatedly, a video recently emerged on social media showing a group of armed men, still believed to be separatist fighters in Kumbo, in far-off Mbui division of the same northwest region, occupying the Kumbo town center and addressing the population in the local Lamso language. They are purportedly warning anyone who will dare set foot on the palace ground to take part in the Gonsok Cultural Festival, which according to them has been banned. Separatist fighters are accusing the administration of pushing for the holding of the festival to use it as a trophy that normal life has returned. Back in Mezam Division, the whereabouts of the former mayor of Bafut Council is still unknown 6 days after he was kidnapped. Lancy Abel Guaso was reportedly picked up from a funeral ground few days after sharing didactic materials to some underprivileged children of the municipality. There has still been no statement, no request from his abductors.
And we now take you down to the southwest region, where the divisional officer for Ida Bato has remained in captivity for the past 1 month. He's supposed and suggested to be held by rebels demanding $1.1 million. That's about 700 million CFA francs for his release. Abducted on October 1, Iwane, along with the municipal accountant, has been reportedly undergoing torture. His wife, Rose, says the government has so far offered no support and has remained silent on the case. And the kidnappers have threatened to kill Iwane if their demands are not met. And that includes the release of their comrades and the provision of specific equipment. Reports earlier have raised concerns over his fate, with some suggesting his demise and others urging caution. Nonetheless, the situation remains tense and highlights the growing concerns over the government's handling of security in the country's English-speaking regions. You heard this already briefly. We take you back to the northwest region and specifically to Bafut, where Lancy Abel, former mayor of the Bafut Council, has now spent 6 nights in captivity. Eyewitnesses confirm he was abducted by suspected separatists 5 days ago, and since then, nothing has been heard of him. So far, no ransom demands have been made, and his family has reportedly not been contacted yet. From the northwest, we go out to the Senda region and the capital, Yaoundé, where a notorious group of criminals, otherwise known as Microbe, has been captured by gendarmes in Yaoundé. Specializing in drug trafficking, bag snatching, and several forms of terrorism, the gang was arrested in successful raids across the Mimboman and Kwabang neighborhoods, as you tell us, Beatrice Ngamo.
All 15 are youths, presumed criminals, known in the common jargon today as microbes, terrorizing the inhabitants of the Mimboman and Kwabang neighborhoods in Yaoundé.
Microbe ne doit pas exister à Yaoundé.
Their modus operandi range from drug trafficking and consumption, especially Indian hemp, bag snatching, different forms of burglary, raping the properties of the population. This clarion message to microbe members out there.
I would like to advise actors of microbe to stand fine, because we are here to fight against them.
Most of the supposed criminals are ex-convicts. Their loot awesome in content: military and police material, bladed weapons, electronics, household equipment and telephones, stamps of different administration, their catch.
We are here to respect the instructions, to fight against those who are committed crimes. So it's our job.
This is just the beginning, and the fight has just started, warned the National Gendarmerie. They should know that at the Mimboman and Kwabang neighborhoods, they will meet us in the day and by night. And so the determination to protect the population and their property, and to ensure they enjoy the peace they so desire.
Now, on November 13, the lifeless body of French national Martine Valéry was discovered in Douala. She was obviously the victim of an armed attack. Days later, investigators announced the arrest of 6 suspects, all of whom confessed to their crime. Today, and under the supervision of gendarme officers, they reenacted the murder scene in front of our very own Cynthia Latte.
The suspects followed their victims silently around 10 p.m. on November 13, stalking before fatally stabbing them. The attack occurred in the Makia neighborhood of Douala. One of the survivors who narrowly escaped the attack recalled the scene vividly. It appears we were being followed. I'm surprised this happened. We were strolling and I told her to walk in front of me because she had once had her chain cut from her neck. A gang then came out of nowhere and attacked us. This is the dress I wore that day. I escaped because the back in my dress barred the knife from piercing through my skin and they felt I had died. After the attack, Martin Valerie Renee Michel was transported to Lakentini Hospital where she ultimately succumbed to her injuries. This November 20, the suspect reenacted the crime under the supervision of the government commissioner as the crowd watched in disbelief. An investigation conducted under the instruction of the Délégué Général à la Sûreté Nationale led to the arrest of 3 of the 4 offenders, along with those who aided their escape and concealed their equipment. They were also found in illegal possession of military clothing. All suspects will be brought before the government commissioner of the Douala Military Court.
Pages, and 1 year after the brutal murder of Dian Yango, a cherished teacher at the government bilingual high school and Dokpasi right here in Douala, her loss still echoes through the halls. Students and teachers say they remain deeply affected and continue to mourn her, like you tell us, Neil Morin.
In what remains a haunting memory, students and teachers of government bilingual high school Dokpasi gathered today to honor their teacher. Dian Yango was assassinated by her own husband. A picture of her cherished and symbolic is all they have left to remember. A woman whose life was shot in the act of domestic violence.
We are still feeling very sad after 1 year, and at times we don't even realize that it's 1 year that has gone like that. And when we are thinking about it, it's like yesterday.
For the students, the grief feels fresh, as though the tragic event happened yesterday. Teachers and students alike spoke of the profound impact of her loss, recounting how dear shattered her family. Her husband, now serving time in New Bell prison for the heinous act, left their children orphans. Their children are currently in the care of external family members who continue to grapple with the tragedy.
Les enfants sont à Tibati avec le grand frère aîné.
A particularly painful aspect by a family member is the lack of closure. Despite the passage of a year, results of investigation into the case remain unknown, adding to their distress.
Comme toutes enquêtes, on attend encore.
On this November 20, the school organized a football match between students and teachers in homage to a teacher loved by her community, but violently taken from them. During the event, both students and teachers raised their voices demanding an end to conjugal violence. Government bilingual high school Dokpasi remains in mourning, a testament to the void left by Dian's Yango absence. The tragedy serves as a stark reminder of the devastating impact of domestic violence on families and communities.
You're watching the 6:15 p.m. edition of the news on Canal International. We're coming to you live from our studios at Upwe in Douala. Now, efforts being deployed by municipal authorities to regulate parking for motorbike taxis are meeting with resistance. Now, some riders claim the designated parking lots not only hurt their activity, but it also stalls their income. Some citizens and city dwellers criticize their non-respect for these regulations. Here's Sherif Asale.
The municipal council to designate parking areas for these riders, many refuse to comply. They claim that parking in designated spots costs them passengers, as most commuters prefer boarding circulating bikes or those parked conveniently nearby. Passengers won't be able to cross to meet us the other way, and the space is really small to contain the large number of commercial bike riders. The passengers won't be able to come all the way to that side to board a bike rider. Rather, they will stop a circulating bike rider. This behavior has drawn criticism from some citizens who argue that bike riders ignoring the rules should face penalties. Normally, when I bought a commercial bike rider who don't respect the rules, I asked him to drop me. However, the problem is compounded by lack of awareness. Some residents are unaware of the parking zones created by the council due to the disorganized way bikes are parked across the city. I don't even know whether there are areas meant for them to park. Wherever I meet them, I bought. You know how they can be if they don't respect. We just bought wherever we come across these bike riders. For now, it remains a balancing act between law enforcement and the daily realities of commercial bike riders and their passengers.
And now, as the world observes World Children's Day under the theme Listen to the Future, Stand Up for Children's Rights, parents in Douala have been discussing the strategies they use to protect their kids from growing violence. This year, Sherifa Saleh.
Janet, a mother of four in Douala, begins her day at 5 a.m., praying with her children and preparing them for school. Her day stretches until 11 p.m., but she still finds time to guide her children on navigating the good and bad sides of life. I'm really scared, but I have no choice. Before I leave home, I pray and make sure I advise them. Still, I leave all in God's hands. Her story reflects the dedication of many parents in Douala who take active steps to shield their children from violence. However, as work pressures mount, some parents rely on nannies, limiting their direct involvement in their children's lives. Parents should take at hand their responsibilities and take care of their children, because if you don't train well your child, the society will. This November 2024 World Children's Day places a spotlight on the urgent need to prioritize children's health, safety, and right with theme. Listen to the future. Stand up for children's rights. Parents have to be present in their children's life. If they find themselves absent, it may lead to irreversible decision-making, so talk to your child and advise them a lot. Parents in Douala have expressed mixed responses, with some managing to juggle responsibilities while others acknowledge the challenges of balancing work and parenting.
We stay on the Universal Children's Day because earlier on today, the Minister of Social Affairs launched the festivities and Balmayo, the chieftain of the Nyong and So division in the Central region, must be respected. UNICEF also took the opportunity to shed light on the plight of vulnerable children, particularly in regions like the far north of Cameroon. Up next are excerpts from the Minister of Social Affairs as well as the UNICEF Chief of Education in Cameroon during the event.
Stand up for children's rights implies that everyone must ensure that children participate meaningfully in all development issues, but also invest in their rights with a view to a better future, not only for them, but also for each and every one of us. As the famous thinker Wordsworth once said, "Child is father of the man."
Especially in the far north today, when we look at this, the situation where flooding is going on, UNICEF is doing as much as it can in order to fundraise so that we can support the government in bringing essential aid in order to improve the lives of children and young people.
Thanks sincerely for the privilege of your company. Don't you go away, because up next is the debrief live from Yaoundé with Janice Kamga. Until tomorrow, and from all of us in Douala, it's have a great evening.